where it goes down, where you hear about the sports all around town. In the country, full of controversy to the highlights. You just not safe in the limelight.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Stoop, where we talk hoops, and more hoops. But tonight is something special. First and foremost, let me give a shout out to my guy, Kev. What's going on, Kev?
Everything is everything, and as always, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, indeed, it is. It is a pleasure to be here tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to get right to it. We have an icon on the show tonight. This Jamaican-born rapper from Brooklyn, very enlightening brother. The 90s, he burnt it down. We talking held down the era of Yo MTV raps, lyrically impressive, Rhodes Scholar, ladies and gentlemen. In the 90s, he was that guy. Lyrically, he's top notch. Now you can catch him on the airwaves all the way live in Atlanta. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a esteemed pleasure from the Stoop. Put your hands together for Mr. Chubb Rock.
Hey, what's going on, guys? My brothers, I hope y'all are doing well.
We're doing very well. Thank you for being here, sir.
Man, anytime.
So, Chubb, if you don't mind, we're just going to go ahead and get right to it. We know your time is necessary. It's of the essence. But the first question is, who actually exposed you to what we call hip-hop?
I think, Kev, you froze for a second.
Yeah, that's TJ. TJ, you froze.
TJ, okay.
All right, I think TJ wanted to ask you, what was the source of what exposed you to hip-hop?
Oh, my cousin Howie T, Hitman Howie T, he dupe a DJ in the Flatbush area in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
He had a crew he was called Count Disco. His crew was called the Sure Shot 4. And, I was a kid, and me and my close friends were like brothers. We would go and see him battle people on turntables and all of that in the park. He used to battle people for their whole equipment. That's how they used to battle. Yo, whoever wins, whoever the crowd goes for, we take your equipment. And so he was the big shot in the neighborhood, and that was my cousin, my first cousin. So I'm at my aunt's house, looking, learning what he's doing, and then he ended up getting a drum machine, the Roland 606. You see, a lot of this stuff, you guys are young guys. He went and got the 606, and I'm trying to see, where is it? Oh, hold on.
He got the props and everything for us right now.
Wow.
Exclusive here.
He got the transistor radio back there. He got the boom box. He got the TV boom box. I see, is that a drum machine up there in the top? Word.
Now we
So
good.
sorry about that, but his first drum machine was, even though this is not it, the actual drum machine, but this is the drum machine. I just got one myself, but this was his first drum machine.
Wow.
And it was the Roland 606. This is, if you remember Jam On It.
Mm-hmm.
Jam On It.
Nucleus.
They made it with this drum machine.
Wow.
Okay.
So he was messing around with this drum machine and working on some stuff. And then all of a sudden, he had graduated to the 808. And when he got the 808, he let me play with this drum machine. So every time he graduated to something else, then he let me play with the other one. So he was doing 808s. I was messing with the 606 and trying to learn some drum programming and stuff like that. And then when he went to the 808, he did a song. Instead of Count Disco, he called it CD, and it was 3 of them. So it's CD3. And they had this big record called Get Tough in the 80s. And so while he was doing all of that brilliance, they was nominated for an award at the New York Rap Awards, and I wanted to go, but I was like 16 or whatever, and I wanted to go, but my boys, they were older than me. They were like, yo, you're going to put on a trench coat. You're already tall. We're going to get you in, and da-da-da. So I got in at the Roxy, and I got a chance to watch, man, it blew my mind. Dougie Fresh, before he made any record. He didn't have no record out. Wow. It was just him beatboxing. He had on a lumberjack shirt. Fearless 4 was up there with leather and Zodiacs, and Howie and them was up there performing their song, and it just blew me away, man. So I was like, yo, I don't know what's going to happen, but I need to get involved with this. And then,
the world is rough, so get tough.
Tough, right. That was Howie's joint. So it began then, writing and trying to perfect the craft, and Howie was graduating to things, because then he started helping Full Force produce like UTFO. So he got involved with helping them on their album, and then he did the Real Roxanne record, Bang Zoom, and Let's Go Go, and all of that. So while he was perfecting his production craft, I'm still trying to learn and get some stuff rocking. And then from UTFO, my brother Doc Ice from UTFO was like, "Yo, Rich, it's time for you to make something. It's time for you to make something." So, me, him, and Howie was at Howie's house and coming up with some songs, and then Howie played it for the label, and they were like, "Oh man, let's do something with him. Let's do something with him." And we did the first album, and the first album, which was this album.
Man.
Wow.
Chubb.
Yeah, the first album was this album, self-entitled. So it's me and Howie on the cover, and somebody drew like a cartoon of us or whatever. And for some reason,
Samples, yeah.
And we didn't want to do no James Brown loops. We was like, nah, man, we ain't doing it. We're doing 808s. We're playing music, and we ain't gonna do no sampling or nothing like that. And we couldn't get arrested with this album. Couldn't get arrested, man. And like, cause everything on the radio was James Brown. Super Lover Seeing Them was killing it with Do the James and Girls I Got Them Locked, and it was all this brilliant music going on. Everybody was taking James Brown and Funky Drummer and all that, and we tried to do more of a played music thing, and we couldn't get arrested, man. And what was funny was the record did well in the Midwest. So if you go to Ohio and St. Louis and all these places, then Michigan, the record was big. And I'm like, so I'm getting offers to do shows with NWA. I started opening for NWA like in Ohio. Yeah, wow. And then I would come back to Brooklyn and be like, yo, man, there's these cats from California killing it, B. They're on stage, and like, it's like Michael Jackson concerts here. They know every word, and people are going crazy for this stuff. And they'd be like, what are you talking about? I never heard of them. I'm like, B. That's when I learned hip hop is more than just Brooklyn and New York and stuff like that, because I'm going to these other areas, opening for NWA, and nobody know who they are because they don't got no video or nothing like that, and they're killing it. And so I got a little frustrated because everybody want to win at home.
Sure.
And Mr. Magic's playing music. And I'm like, man, I don't got nothing on the radio, and I don't live in St. Louis, and I don't live in Ohio, and So I got frustrated one night, and I took a bunch of records, and I went to the studio by myself with and the engineer Questar Welch. And there was a song on this album called "Caught Up." So I wanted to come up with a remix to it. And I went in there and I did what I said I wasn't going to do, which was I was sampling some James Brown music. I took a little piece of Hot Pants, looped that, I put some beats in there, grabbed some other. It says man, woman. I put Ben Casey in there. So I did a remix to Caught Up, played it for Howie. Howie was like, yo, it's dope. He went and put his brilliance to it and mixed the record, and we put it out as a single. And then for some reason, man, I didn't realize it because we were on an independent label. I didn't have no video for the record. The record kind of really took off in the hood now. Mm-hmm. Like the street, this was a street record. But I didn't know. And I was like, so one of the guys at the label was like, yo, there's a hip hop show happening at the Apollo. I'm gonna get you on that show to do at least one record. And I'm like, but nobody knows my music, man, and blah, blah, blah. So I get to the Apollo, and I'm nervous as hell. Because this is a place where they booed Luther Vandross off stage. And I'm like, yo.
True story. True
they
story.
booed him, and this guy got the voice. This guy got the voice of life. So I'm like, okay.
Voice, yeah.
So I'm there nervous or whatever, waiting my turn. Kane is the headliner. Big Daddy Kane. And I mean, it's who on this show? I mean, this is a serious show right here. And so I'm just on the side, just kind of waiting, and people are tearing it down. And I'm talking to Greg like, yo, man, I don't know how this is going to go. And Kane comes over to me, and he's like, yo, homie, I heard your voice, and I heard you speak to your man. Are you Chubb Rock? I said, yeah. He said, man, I'm a big fan of your record. When I was on tour, that's the only album I played.
Wow.
And then he called Mr. C over, and he was like, Mr. C, what was the album I played on the whole tour? He said, oh, man, that Chubb Rock record. I don't even want to hear that record no more. You was playing that record.
Wow.
So I'm talking to Kane, and I'm like, and he's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't know if this is going to go well, man. I don't think nobody know this record, man, blah, 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 blah. He said, what you performing? Caught Up? And I said, yeah. Oh, it's going to kill out here. And I'm like, I don't think nobody know this record. He said, boy, you ain't in the streets then, man, because this record is on fire. Then he called Biz over. And he went, Biz, what's your favorite record right now? Oh, Biz can't talk without beatboxing and somebody, because Biz is going to be, yo, that man. And he's doing all the sound effects. And Kane said, yo, that's the homie right here who made the record. And he said, what, you made that record? I was like, yeah. He said, yo, you're going to kill this tonight. So when you have two guys that were on fire at this point, I mean, they're the superstars of it all. And they come up to a younger cat and give that kind of inspiration. That did it for me, man. I mean, we went out there, we did the one song. The song did extremely well. And it's funny because I was wearing this Feli sweatsuit I got from Dapper Dan.
You ain't had no troop on? Come on, Chubb, no troop.
And if you look at the cover of the single of your Bad Chubbs, and I got it here.
Yeah.
The cover of your Bad Chubbs wearing the Feli suit, that's that Caught Up performance.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, some photographer caught it and was like, yo, Chubb, I got this picture of you one of. He's like, yo, well, I'm gonna use that for the next record.
Wow.
So the next album was the And the When There Is album. That was album number 2. And that had your Bad Chubbs. That had my first video. And because we look like we're holding Grammys, is because we were dissing the Grammys because they wouldn't give us, we weren't able to win a Grammy yet.
Yeah.
So we did this whole thing, And the Winner Is, and we did a song called The Grammys, and it has me and Howie trying to get the Grammy, and in the back of it, it's me and him building the Grammys. So
wow.
we threw a little diss there, like, yo, you're not recognizing hip hop, and then there was a small protest that went on with that about they're not recognizing hip hop, and then Mr. Magic was playing the song, the Grammys, and then boom, luckily they gave us a thing, and Will Smith had won for Summertime.
Yeah.
And then Queen Latifah had one for the Black Rain album and stuff like that. So, your Bad Chubbs did real well, and then, we was writing the Treat 'Em Right album at that point. And that was, that was a great album and also a sad album because Treat 'Em Right had like 3 messages in there. And one was about bootlegging because at that time, that's when bootlegging really started.
Mm-hmm.
And they were only bootlegging Black music. It's like, yo, you go to the table, you see hip hop, you see R&B, you don't see no Madonna record on here, you know what I'm saying? So if you look at the video of Treat 'Em Right, we turn over the table and my man's trying to sell bootleg records. So it had a bootleg thing. It had a tribute to people because I was so shocked that And the Winner Is did so well, Caught Up did well, your Bad Chubbs did well. I wanted to give kind of a thank you to the fans. So that's what that whole sign or autograph, you might make a new friend thing came from and all that. And then the sad part was when Yusef Hawkins was killed, and then that was a other little piece that was in Treat 'Em Right, and that was this album.
Yes, the one.
And it had everything else, just the two of us and the Chubster, and I mean we had 4 #1 records from that album, and that was the first time any rap
Yeah, that was
Rap
huge.
record had 4 #1 rap records.
That's a fact.
And you know, it was a good journey, man. It was a good journey, and we did well. And then I got involved with writing for people, and then, you know, I came up with a small production crew when we was writing for people, and that was called Track Masters. And
Yeah, they didn't produce your next album in full though?
yeah, they did songs on the Treat 'Em Right album,
Right,
and then they did. Then we all got together and we did the I Gotta Get Mine Yo album with Lost in the Storm and all of those records. So
right.
and the reason why I even met like 2 of them, and then we got another one, and then another one, and then we was all together was because Finesse and Sequence wanted me to write a song for them on Uptown Records. They wanted me to write a single for them. So I was writing the song, and they said, "Yo, I know these 2 guys. One of them went to school with me, man. Chubb, maybe if you can bring some ideas to them, and we can get it rocking." So I bought a couple of records, and I went over there, and I met Alex Richburg and Frankie, and I was like, "Yo, I got some ideas," and I'm telling them what I want from the record, and they're like, "Yo, no, we got you." And they were great guys, and then Tone came, then Polk came, and Rob Swinger came, and then we just started doing these projects together. You know, we did the I Gotta Get Mine Yo album together. We did the Finesse and Sequence whole album. And within that album, when we was at Chung King, there was a young lady that worked at Chung King that was always writing. So every time I came to the studio, she's always writing. And I'm like, "What you writing?" She's like, "Rhymes." And I was like, "Yo, let me hear something." And she rhymed to me, and I was like, "Yo, I need to put you on this Finesse Sequence album." So I put her on the Finesse Sequence album, and that was Lady of Rage.
Wow.
So no one ever heard her until I put her on the Finesse Sequence album, and then I put her on this album. I put on the Treat 'Em Right album.
That's a piece of history right there. I had no idea. All along I'm thinking, and I'm pretty sure most of America is thinking that Snoop was the one that probably found. But here it is. We find out she got an exclusive right here.
Right.
So
yeah. She because she was from Virginia, and then she came to New York to be, you know, like everybody else. I want to come to New York. I'm trying to be a rapper.
Get on, right?
Yeah, and then somehow she got to work at the studio, like as a secretary, and she was just trying to do whatever she can do. And when I asked her what she was writing, and then she sang it for me, I was like, "Oh, you need to be on this record." And she was like, "Oh my God, it would be great." And she got on the record, killed it. And then she got on my Treat 'Em Right album, killed it. And then she went to a show, and I think it was at 1018, and I think she went with Nikki D, because her and Nikki D was real tight. And Dre heard her.
And that's where
he heard her because he was in New York. And, you know, he was doing his new thing. Because, you know, he had just left Easy at that point.
He was trying to find his way.
Yeah, and he was trying to do whatever for the next venture. And then he stepped to her and he was like, "Yo, I want to do some stuff. I want to bring you to California. I'm going to have a brand new label and this, that, and the third." And she was like, "Well, I don't know. Chubb is the one to put me on and blah, blah, blah." And he was like, "Nah, speak to Chubb. Please speak to Chubb. And, you know, I'll make sure that Chubb gets some production light on the album, blah, blah." So she called me and she was like, "Yo, I need to come see you." And because we had a deal for her at Uptown.
Okay.
Uptown Records, Andre Harrell, because she was on
Rest in Peace, Dre.
The Finesse Sequence album, he was like, "Yo, she's dope. Chubb, yo, let's do it. Let's do something. So she called me and she was like, told me what happened with Dre and everything like that. And I said, "Yo, he's Dr. Dre, man.
Right.
He don't lose."
And you already were familiar with him, as you said, because you were opening up for NWA. So
yeah. I'm like, "Yo, he don't lose." Because at that point, he had just produced my favorite rap album, period, was the DOC album. No One Can Do It Better. And so I was like, "Nah, if he's gonna produce you,
You got it.
Yeah.
Go do that. And then she went out there and she wrote a whole bunch of stuff for the Chronic. You know, but a lot of people don't know that she penned a lot of that stuff.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
You know, she penned a lot. Oh yeah, she penned a lot of stuff for the Chronic. A lot of stuff.
Oh wow.
And
Appreciate you, Chubb.
Yeah, she penned a lot of stuff.
We might have to things about this now because this is some things you're bringing a light to us. But Chubb, I really wanted to touch on something really quick because TJ and I talked about this behind the back. What's up?
You getting question number 6? I think 6 is a good one right now, based upon what Chubb at with his dialogue. I think that'd be a good question.
Well, hold on, because I know you wanted to talk to him about his treatments and some of the stuff with him and his attire coming out with the black. Go ahead and rock out with that one.
Okay, no problem. So Chubb, thinking back in the 90s, man, you rocked a lot of black. You had the high back wicked chairs. You had some Nubian queens in your videos. You had the African medallion.
I think his videos freezing.
Yeah. So I think with TJ, because I remember we were talking about this behind the scenes, and he was saying you came out wearing a lot of, the black and wearing the African beads and sitting in the wicked chairs and the whole thing. You had Nubian queens around you in the whole 9 yards. And those are things, of course, that we attribute to like activism and things. Did the label give you a hard time about that imagery, or did they give you the freedom to just say, you know what, do you?
They definitely gave me the freedom to do whatever. I mean, we were on a small label, an independent label, but we didn't have a lot of the red tape like on those majors and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like our independent label was just really good, man. They were really good. They were real smart. They believed in artistry. They never critiqued anything I wanted to do. It was like, yo, if you're feeling it, let's go. And we just had a great crew, man. And it was a great label because, it was me, it was UTFO, it was Whistle, it was MOP, it was Kid and Play. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. Obviously, the Real Roxanne, and it was just a lot of just great records and great artists. And they never really said, "Okay, Chubb, nah, we can't have you say this or do that." They were like, "No, go, do whatever you want and how you want to rock it and how you want to represent yourself and everything like that." So it was always cool.
Gotcha. Okay. TJ, you wanted to get off?
Am I good back, fellas? I'm sorry. I apologize, Chubb. We all right with y'all can see me? We good? We good?
Yeah, you still a little glitchy, so I'm gonna proceed. I want to ask you this, Chubb. You scored several big hits as you discussed. We mentioned You Bad, The Chubbster, and Treat 'Em Right, just to name a few. You were known for your upbeat songs that get a crowd moving. However, you also had a reputation for thought-provoking lyrics, always keeping your ears to the street and your fingers on the pulse. How important was it for you to infuse that in your music?
I mean, to me, it was important because of what was going on during that time. Like right now, this is a rough time right now. Mm-hmm. Racism and just, obviously COVID-19 but we were going through a rough time during that time because people were getting killed. Eleanor Bumpers was getting killed, Abner Louima and stuff that happened to him. And then, obviously Yusef Hawkins, Sean Bell. We were surrounded by a lot of this stuff that's going on. We didn't have the COVID-19 part, but we had the police brutality, people getting killed in the streets and all of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, we had party records like Treat 'Em Right and Just the Two of Us and all that. But we always had records like What's the Word and Impeach the President. And we had stuff because we were still surrounded by a lot of roughness at that point. A lot of, unnecessary killings and just, it was a rough time too, man. And that's the reason why I'm waiting for these young cats. I'm like, where's your record about what's going on right now?
Right.
I don't hear that record. You know what I'm saying? It's great. You could always still do your music and all the great music and that's all dope. But where's the record?
Where's the substance
that time stamps now? Right. So people can go back 10 years from now and 15 years and say, yo, man, do you remember what was going on in 2020, baby? I don't hear that record.
So,
you know,
in keeping with that theme, on Treat 'em Right, you wrote, racial gain causes pain, need a new rep in your hearts and minds, never forget Yusef. Growing up in Brooklyn at that particular time, I remember how that tragedy like gripped the city, how divisive it was.
yeah, man.
Those that don't know, please fill us in on who Yusef Hawkins was and what inspired those bars.
I mean, he was a young man. He was going into Bensonhurst, which we all know if you're from Brooklyn. This was not a place where black people were.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He was going into Bensonhurst with a couple of friends, and he was only 16, and they got jumped by a mob of white guys, and he got killed. And for me, it took me to some new place, because by the time when they killed him, I was maybe 19, 20. So I'm only a few years older than him,
Right.
you know, and I'm like, and believe it or not, this, which is strange, I heard of Bensonhurst, but I'd never been there myself. Like, I've never been to Bensonhurst at that point. I'm like, oh, that's where such and such lives. I don't go there.
Yeah. You just knew better.
You know, we're going to be in Bed-Stuy or go to Brownsville, and, you know, when you're going around and stuff like, you ain't going to Bensonhurst. So that really bothered me, man. That are like, yo, Rich, man, we can't let that stand. If you look at the Public Enemy Do the Right Thing video,
the protest,
that was based on that same incident too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
You know, that was based on that incident, and it got real serious, man. That protest got real serious, and I mean, it was just like what's going on right now. You know, we didn't have a theme like Black Lives Matter at the point,
right.
But it was real. It was numbers, you know, because that was senseless. So, you know, and it affected hip hop. It definitely did affect it. Yeah, it affected hip hop a lot, because brothers in hip hop back then really stood. They stood together,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, like, it was real. You didn't. If you knew KRS was performing, I'm there, Just Ice is there, you know, there's all kinds of people there. If anything pop off here, we're all together, you know? So it was a very different time, man, because of all of that senseless violence that was happening. And we went through that too, man. We went through that on tour, and you know, because they like, why? And this, like, what you doing here? Because we down in the South. I'm like, yo, we in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We're like, yo, what's going on here? You know, and you know, so we felt all of that. But
Well, H recently released a documentary about Yusef Hawkins, since we're talking about this. So Yusef Hawkins' Storm Over Brooklyn.
yeah,
Powerful piece of that I wasn't aware of. Some things that I may have forgotten over the last 30 years or so.
right.
However, one thing that I learned, and I was taken aback by it, is the revelation of Patty Duke. His participation in the demise of Yusef Hawkins.
Right.
Patty Duke, for those who don't know, his birth name is Pasquale Ricci. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, but he's a producer at Hot 97 for years, from 1994, I believe. Shortly, probably about 5 years after Yusef Hawkins' death. Since the revelations, social media has been abuzz, and he's been promptly fired. Share with us your thoughts on those developments.
You know, it's interesting because I never knew who the guy was. I would hear his name, you know, all the time. People shouting him out, you know, on Hot 97 and stuff like that. I used to hear it, and I really assumed even, you know, it was all news to me, because I wasn't really up at Hot 97 like that. I think I really been up there once in my whole career, you know, so I wasn't really up there like that. I was more at BLS, you know, with Marley Marl and them cats, You know, that's what was more where I would be, or 98.7 Kiss, which is still
right. It's now
R&B. Basically the same thing as it's like the sister station, the Hot 97 back then. Fox and Red Alert and them cats. Mm-hmm. So not really Hot 97, but when I found out that he was involved in that situation, and he was there all these years, and that he was even a white guy, I just really didn't know. I mean, that's some serious developments, man. You know, I don't know exactly how they rectify that. I don't think there is a way to rectify that, but yeah, the internet is going very serious about that. Literally, when they did that announcement, I think it was 48,000 DMs I got about that scenario. Everybody sending me the article and obviously quoting. Treat him right. And I was just like, wow, man, this is a sad time. But you see, what it is during now Black Lives Matter from 30 years ago, right. You know, they're not letting anything slide. That's why I love this energy, this young energy with Black Lives Matter and everything. I love it, man. They are not playing games, and they want to hold you accountable for that stuff, man. You know, and yeah, it's a serious scenario. I mean, you guys are the first one on anything. You know, I got a lot of requests for it, but you know, you guys were the first ones, and the one that sounded, you know, very sincere about having a good discussion about what's going on now, and unfortunately what happened back then. I don't know, man. You know, and I got a lot of friends out there in Philadelphia, and they have that imaginary line of neighborhoods, you know.
Absolutely.
You cross into a certain. So it's different. It's a rough time, man.
TJ, you got something for him?
Yeah. So, Chubb, one thing I'm thinking about is during the course of hip hop and even music from the 80s and 90s. In the 80s, we had We Are the World. 90s, we had Self-Destruction, and we had Same Gang. Do you think something like that, because you talked about, you references the young cats and their energy, do you think something like that has a premise today to kind of bring awareness to what's going on and bring about change?
Oh, without question. The young crew now, they got access to more people.
Okay.
Instagram and all that stuff. They got access to it. So if they get together and do some kind of song like that, like a Self-Destruction, or we're all in the same gang, you know, with the
West Coast.
I mean, they do something like that now. Oh, it's gonna get attention like crazy. Because I mean, they got the followers, they got the, you know, they got that energy. Cardi and any of the Young Kings and Wayne and all of them, man, they do something like that, they'll shut it down. They'll shut it down, man. I mean, they could take it very far, very far.
I'm happy that you use the term, like, they can shut it down. Because I find it odd that it's 2020, and although we're constantly reminded that we still have a long way to go in terms of attaining racial equality, even in the midst of a pandemic, we have incidents like George Floyd and more recently, Jacob Blake. Much like yourself, many of today's Black heroes are using their voices for change. The NBA, for example, is in the midst of a boycott.
Yeah.
I support the stance, but the question remains is, where do we go from here, though?
You see, that's a good question, man. You know, here's the thing. When Martin Luther King and his crew put together the bus boycott, they said, okay, well, you want us to sit at the back of the bus. You want to take our women off the bus when they're tired and they've worked 8 hours, 10 hours, cleaning your homes. And they want to take the first seat when they get on the bus because they're tired. You want them to move to the back. Okay, you know something? We're going to boycott the bus. We ain't even going to go on your bus. You can have your whole bus to yourself, right? We'll walk, we'll carpool, At first, I'm sure those people and the bus companies were like, oh, this is great. We can get them off the bus and blah, blah, blah. And then we're not making the same money that we was making, and how are we going to pay you, and how are we going to pay you? And they realized we need them back on the bus. We're good. We're good. We're walking. That's even better. We're getting in shape. We're walking. We got carpools. We're good. Some people are riding their bikes to go to work. We don't need any of that. So what happens? Violence. Oh, you won't get on this bus, or we're going to beat you up. And I mean, you're forcing us to spend money with you? So we are at that scenario now, but they can't beat you to do it. You have to make the decision. So I don't know if you've seen this, but they flagged, I forgot what was some ridiculous amount of tons that came from China. They flagged it here, and it was like literally something like 100 and something thousand tons of hair that was coming here from China. And then they found out that the hair was coming from Chinese prisoners.
Oh, wow.
Right? So they're Chinese prisoners. Remember, they got 1 billion plus people over there. So they're shaving their heads and they're selling it to make wigs and weaves and to America.
Wow.
So you got to ask yourself a question. Wait a second. We don't have to buy that. Right? We don't have to buy that.
No.
You know, my mother used to be so upset, man, because our neighborhood is a Caribbean neighborhood. And one of her friends, him and his wife, opened up a Jamaican bakery/fruit market. So you can go there, you can get bakery and your beef patties and your bread and all your spices and all this stuff there. It was the first of our neighborhood. So, and he did well. And he's part of the community. So I'm going to school or whatever, I can go in there, get my beef patty for lunch and this and that and boom, boom. Then a Korean fruit stand opened, right next to him. Not 2 stores down, 3 stores right next to him, and started selling Caribbean products.
Undercut.
And be out there in front of there and see Black people going into this Korean store because maybe it's 3 cents cheaper, 10 cents cheaper, and she'd be like, wait a second. Your countryman, a Caribbean man is right here selling the authentic stuff. You would rather go here and be disrespected. Because remember, they're looking at you while you're walking around the store. They're following you when you're walking around the store. That's what Do the Right Thing was about, right? They're following you when you're walking around the store. It ain't like when I'm going to school, we kids, and we go to our guy for the beef patties to go to school, and we're taking 2 beef patties and cocoa breads and soda and we don't have no money. You know what I'm saying? He's like, go. And then on a Friday when my father's coming home, yo, what I owe you for the week? Whatever, it was something, okay, here.
Credit.
You can't do that at the Korean store.
Nah.
You're not, there ain't no situation where you're going in there to grab whatever you need to grab because you're going to school and your mom or your pops is going to pay it later.
Yeah.
With them. So we are still at that place, man. If you don't stop spending don't spend your money there. Look what happened with the NFL. When that thing went down with Kaepernick, it felt like, I don't need him. And none of these players are going to give up their 20 million and 15, 40 million. So they thought they could just get him out of there. Everything is done. And then it started. And it just started going down like this.
Okay, Chubb. So really quick, because you mentioned the NFL, which you brought in sports for a second, and you mentioned, Black people basically sticking together and maintaining businesses within our own community.
Right.
And on the one album, you have a track called Organizer.
Yep.
Which you say, if the Battle of the Races was a basketball game, who'd reign? Let's look at the Blacks. We have Strickland, you and Magic, of course, Jordan is a Don, Isaiah, Dominique Barkley, and Akeem Olajuwon. The verse goes on to illustrate that basically if we don't work together, we lose. Period. And I remember hearing that as a kid and thinking, that's just dope, because I was all caught up in just
in the hoops.
My favorite basketball players being in the song. Now I'm in the ill-ass metaphor. Like, I didn't get it then. Clearly that was your intent. But does it strike you as odd that even in today's current climate, that message still needs to be conveyed?
Oh, without question, man, because, we're not owners. I think Jordan is the only Black owner.
Mm-hmm.
And so there ain't no owners. And then when something like this happens, in this situation where you could control the rules, I mean, Kaepernick should be playing.
Absolutely.
There's no reason why he shouldn't be playing.
100%.
Right? He was 20-something, I think, when they did all that nonsense to him in 2016. I think he was 27 at the time or whatever. And he's only like 31 now. So it's like he could have been playing. And then now, you don't mind people kneeling. Because you've seen how, that 26% that you've lost adds up to 400 million. You don't want the 26 to turn to 45, but now it was at maybe 37. So you losing money all the time. And then I'm telling you, God is watching. Because then what happens? COVID comes.
Yeah.
Right? So that comes and hits you on an economic level. And then you got LeBron and these guys finding their voices now. And they're like, something, we might need to negotiate a lot of this stuff here. If not, we got to go and do our own league. Because remember, the league, the new league, it ain't as easy as people think. Of course you can go and get a name. Of course you can do some of that stuff. But where you going to play? Because they own the buildings.
True indeed.
Right? So it's bigger than just, we can just take our money and go get our own league. Oh, man. Systemic racism is not no easy task. In sports, especially in sports, man. Because right now, sports is going to be totally done over. After this particular season, the big contracts, that's coming to an end.
Mm-hmm. I believe that.
There ain't no doubt about it, man, because they're going to say, wait.
Elaborate on that some more, Chubb. Yeah, why? Why you think? What's going on?
Man, because at this point, you have some guys getting serious money.
Okay.
Right? Some of the superstars of now, those athletes, those particular franchises from basketball, football, they're going to lose billions of dollars this season. Billions of dollars.
And probably next season as well.
So they're going to sit back and go like this. There's no way in the world. In fact, we can go to court now and I can break those contracts. Because remember, you got some of them contracts that's guaranteed money.
They got to make it to give it.
They're going to break those contracts. They're going to be able to go to court and say, COVID-19, I need to break this contract. I cannot pay $106 million to this cat. And when they break those contracts, they're going to all collectively get together and say, listen, these health crises can really buckle the business to its knees. We're overextending ourselves.
Okay.
We're basically overextending ourselves. So in the future, when they plan from whatever, and they said, and his handlers are saying, hey man, yeah man, we're looking for that 115. They're going, we don't do that anymore. Well then, where you going? Because y'all don't got no league, right? Y'all don't got no league, right? So where you going? So if the guy that was used to the superstar that was used to getting 130 million, 108 million, 96 million, and they said, we'll give you 15 million.
Okay.
And we want the option to get out of that deal whenever we want. Because we already seen what things happen with COVID and this and that and boom.
We don't know when the next one is coming.
Right. Maybe climate change is coming next. Climate change and this. Oh, wait. We got to prepare for this. So all those big and then I'm telling you, those athletes don't have no choice. If you don't want to take it, stay home. 15 million is still a lot of damn money.
Most definitely.
You know what I'm saying? But you ain't getting 100 million, 120 million. That is over. And I see that happening because I forgot what the team was, man, that's going to lose literally like $2 billion this season on just the one team. $2 billion. Come on, they can't do that for long.
Yeah.
Hey, Chubb, I want to ask a question and kick it back to the music side for a quick second. So in the 80s and 90s, brother, yourself, during the Yusef era, Brand Nubian, Public Enemy, KRS-One. Yes, brother, yes. All of y'all was instrumental of really bringing positive Black lyrics to the forefront. Is it possible, like, our elder statesmen, our pioneers, our forefathers in rap can come back on the scene, help with the young, but also have a positive message of change, especially in today's climate? So the question is, where they at? Can they join your side? Can we get more power? Because there's stability in numbers, Chubb, without a doubt. So what can we do to make sure that our forefathers in hip hop, our legends, come back out and make some noise?
No, I mean, it happens periodically, right?
Okay.
Blow did this record when the great John Lewis passed away. And he did this record and he hit me up. He's like, yo, I need you to do two bars in this record. And then he went to some other brilliance, and I think Chuck D is on there.
Okay.
And he did a little video and it was a tribute to John Lewis. And then I did stuff with Jeff Bradshaw out of Philly. I did something with them and Jazzy Jeff and all that. So like that, but it can easily happen. You see, at some point, you got to get to the point where you're not making records in the thought process or preparing to make money. You're making, and you want to put certain messages out there. The problem for some people, and this is a true problem, is it costs money to make records. But if you're coming from an era like us, where we're into sampling and stuff, and grabbing, certain records, they made clearing those samples a very hard thing, man. I mean, Nicki Minaj is getting sued right now for serious money over a Tracy Chapman record that she did that she didn't even put out.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's an unprecedented situation. It comes from that culture. It comes from sampling. It comes from grabbing that one little piece from some jazz record that no one even remembered, but at the same time, it's brilliant music, artists, and things of that nature. And if they act, and if it costs a certain amount of money to take that piece, so be it. But if it's really, really like out of control now, because some of these guys are making millions of dollars. So if a stranger record and they said, okay, give me $2,000 to clear that sample. But if Wayne wants to take the same piece, they want to charge him, $100,000.
Yeah, tax.
Because they know that he's a big superstar.
Right.
I mean, some of that stuff is kind of wrong, but they're like, yo, this is our music. You take it or you leave it.
True.
You know what I'm saying? So it becomes pretty expensive. So I think that's why a lot of the practitioners that would love to do those records, it might slow down a little bit because they're like, man, it's just a lot of headache and a lot of money and to make the records that you're used to making.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong. If you get a chance to just do a dope beat and some dope music on there, then and all that music is yours, or you and your producer, or what, then that's great. But if you come from that era, that Pete Rock era, and that DJ Premier era, and you come from that Easy Mo B era, and Hitman Howie T era, and Herbie Love Bug era. If you come from that era, yes, Said G era, Marley Marl era. If you come from all of that, when you come from all of that, you come from that sampling sport. But you just don't want to, you don't want to have to be sued for all, everything you have and all, It just becomes very crazy. I think that's what made Biz get more into his DJing, and, instead of really making records, when the sampling thing just got
out of control.
So.
Hey, Chubb, real quick, and I'm gonna kick it back to Kev.
Hope, man.
Speaking of samples, why doesn't samples get like the credit to being a part of hip hop like it needs to? Maybe it is the legality portion of it, because I know back in the golden era, there was a lot of kicks, there was a lot of snares, but there was also them great jazz samples. There was those great James samples, the funky drummers, and so on and so forth. So why don't we, and also I'm gonna piggyback on that question. So why don't we consider samples to be an important part of hip hop? And second, for cats like the Herbie Love Bugs and the legendary Howie T, what went into the thoughts, man, when y'all was grabbing samples back in the day to make a dope record?
You wanted to grab something that no one else grabbed.
Okay.
That was your whole thing. When Public Enemy would come out with a new album, I would go buy that album, go to Howie's, and we would play every song from the beginning to the end and be like, yo, this record is brilliant. We got to be able to compete with this record right here. And at the same time, you want your peers to be proud of whatever record you came up with.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, that Chubb Rock record is ridiculous. When we mixed Treat 'Em Right, when we were mixing Treat 'Em Right, Dougie Fresh was there, right? Because him and Howie were really good friends. So he came over because, in fact, Howie produced Dougie and Little Vicious record, Freaks. So Dougie was there when we were mixing Treat 'Em, and he would jump up out of the couch.
Yeah.
And he would be like, yo, that's going to be the record for you. That's going to be the record for you. So, we always want to make and say, yo, Chubb, you did it on that record. Because these guys got their brilliance. And back then, none of that brilliance sounded the same. EPMD sounded like them. Public Enemy sounded like them. Rakim sounded like them. I sounded like me. Kane sounded like him. Biz sounded like, it was all these various different styles of music. Audio 2 and MC Light and Positive K. And, it was just, you wanted to impress people by that no one took, that no one found, man.
And that's what made you stand out.
Without question. When Tribe Called Quest took that mini Ripperton, we were like, dope.
Q is I think at that particular time he was ahead of his time. Like he was just
he was in there, man. He was in his knowledge of jazz fusion was unprecedented, man. I don't know if it was somebody in his family was a jazz artist or whatever it was, but him and Ali Shaheed, they just had a certain connection. When you heard a Tribe Called Quest album, Low End Theory, or any of those records, no one had none of those records.
No, at all. And they made it sound brand new.
Right. There was nobody that took any of those kinds of records. So you people just had to just stop and bow down and be like,
pardon the pun, but them guys were digging in the crates.
Period, man. They had a brilliant, and then Public Enemy with the Bomb Squad, they were like, the construction of their songs was like how rock and roll guys do it. That's how, they recorded the records at like a higher frequency, like how you do commercials. That's why when you play music, if you listen to the radio and if they're playing a song and then the commercial comes, You see how the commercial is louder and you have to turn it down?
Yes.
Because the commercials are always recorded on a higher frequency to get your attention. And Public Enemy used to record their records like that. So you always had to pay attention to those in every record. They showed how I could take this one beat, funky drummer, and make different records out of this thing. So their brilliance was ridiculous. And then when they produced Ice Cube for that first America's Most Wanted, I was like, oh, okay, these guys are playing games. It's war now. We got to go in there and find some real records, and you know what I'm saying? Because you want to impress Hank Shock, Eric Sermon. You want to impress Easy Mo B. You want to impress
very competitive.
DJ Putman, right? You know what I'm saying? Because they all are going to give love on your record. They're going to give you love, and you want when there was nothing like that album.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, nobody took anything from that album and tried to do it over. They knew, like, okay, leave those samples alone because they killed that. There's nothing to do with any of those records. And we always wanted to try to make those kinds of records back then. And that was just a great time, man. You know, for hip hop, for me, that was the KRS-One time, Boogie Down production time, and, you know, Juice Crew time. I mean, it was just a great time, man. And then, of course, Snoop and them and their brilliance out there in the West Coast. I was a big fan of King T out there in the West Coast, and Mellow Man Ace and my man Kid Frost. We used to do shows together with Kid Frost, and he was just dope wearing the white suit and everything. I mean, you know, all that brilliance, man, and Do or Die out there in Chicago. And, you know, I was just a fan of hip hop.
TJ, didn't you have a question about the genres in hip hop legends?
Yeah. You know, Chubb, when we look at other genres, man, a lot of other genres are celebrated, but why don't we celebrate our forefathers and our actually foremothers like Latifah and Light and, you know, Salt and Pepper and Spin? Like, why don't our legends, our pioneers get celebrated? It's baffling to me because as I get older, I'm quick to put y'all on and rhyme out, and everybody be like, yo, what's that? How you don't know what that is? So my thing is, what can we do as fans to make the relevancy match up to other genres?
Now, I don't want to, where, you know, we blame slavery.
Okay.
But slavery and all of that played a part of it, like the Willie Lynch letter and all that kind of stuff, because
Speak on.
The Willie Lynch letter basically was talking about how do we divide these people that are growing in big numbers. We're going to pit the young against the old. We're going to pit the light-skinned ones against the darker-skinned ones. We're going to put together these problems. And we're still in that situation because somebody told somebody, I don't know who it was, that, like, if you have skills or if you're a rapper, there's an expiration date. You know, like, oh, man, you turned 40, you shouldn't be rapping no more.
I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from. It's like, I thought this was an art form.
Word.
A young girl like LMA or some, you know, SZA, these are beautiful, incredible sisters with great music. But if you put them on the stage with Patti LaBelle, I think you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And Patty's in her 70s or whatever. You put them on the stage with Gladys Knight, you know what's going to happen.
Shocker.
Yeah, you know. There's no ageism with that situation. You know what I'm saying? So why is there an ageism in hip hop? When you say, well, you 40 now, you can't be doing no more records. And then you even got young guys at 38 saying, well, I'm retiring.
Yeah.
You're retiring from something you love? What does that, well, I got enough money. So you only did it for money? I thought you did because you love the art form.
Art form.
You know, so it's a strange thing, man. I don't know where that poison came into the game, I can't really tell you, man, but it's there. It's like, why in the world would you think, at any age, you can't do a record? I would love to get a KRS-One record right now.
Still dope. I don't care how old you are. If you got bars, you got bars.
I would love to hear just dropped last week.
KRS-One record right now. Right. Yeah. I want to hear a Fat Joe record. I want to hear, you know what I'm saying? I want to hear a Method Man record. I want to hear a Red Man record. I mean, I don't believe in expiration dates when it comes to talent, man.
Agreed.
That doesn't make sense. One of my favorite rappers of all time is Slick Rick.
Mine as well. The storyteller.
Most definitely. Eventually.
That he was working on an album. And I was like, yo, please finish that album. Because finish that album. Because I want to hear that album. I want to hear a Slick Rick album. And he gave me this book. Because Rick gave me this book.
Wow.
That's one of my favorite albums right there.
Wow.
And this is the book. This is actually the cartoon book for a children's story.
Oh.
I'm gonna have to look this up, man.
So when you buy the book, when you get the book, it has a copy of Children's Story on 45. When you buy the book, it comes in the book.
Wow.
And Rick signed it for me or whatever. And then one thing that was crazy that I thought was really crazy, because I'm a comic book guy, is Marvel did like a spinoff of Spider-Man and used the design of Rick's album cover.
Dope.
You see the influence of hip hop? So
that's the info, and this is not the first time for comic books. Because I don't know if you guys remember, but Kid and Play had their own comic books.
I do remember that. Kid and Play doesn't get the credit they deserve, and they are one of the people that. Yeah, they did, but I'm talking about now. People don't look back because they had movies, they had cartoons, they had Sprite commercials, they had it all. They were the total package.
They were the ones that really broke that doorway for that.
Yes, they did. So even though TJ might have brought some light to artists not being celebrated as they are in other genres, I do think their songs do get celebrated. You can go to any NBA arena and hear class. People are dancing on the Jumbotron. They're at commercials. They're at block parties, weddings, including mine. I told you were in my wedding. Any kind of social gathering. Treat 'Em Right, in fact, was voted one of the top 100 hip-hop songs of all time by VH1. In the middle of making their songs, even as they're doing it, that they have a hit on their hands. But did you know that Treat 'Em Right was going to have the staying power that it has?
No. When I came up with the idea for the song, I caught the beats for that song. Mm-hmm. And I caught it when I was doing some shows in England. It was where I bought those records for that whole. I came back and I told Howie, I was like, yo, I got some jewels here. And we put them all together, and the label loved the album, and I thought it was a cool album. I didn't think it was a better album than And the Winner Is, the Your Bad Chubbs album. To me, at least. Howie was like, "What, you crazy? Treat 'Em Right's gonna kill it and this and that." I was like, "Okay, cool. That's cool." And when we put out Treat 'Em Right, believe it or not, when we put out Treat 'Em Right, it didn't really do well. They were ready to go to the next single.
Wow.
They were literally ready to go to the next single because we just wasn't really popping yet. And then what happened was, Arsenio Hall heard the song in a club.
That's all it took.
And he was just like, "Yo, who's that?" And they said, "Yo, some kid named Chubb Rock or whatever." And he was like, "I don't know him, but yo, I gotta have him on the show." So he wanted me to get on the show out there in California. He was doing his Arsenio Hall show on his show. And then when we went back to Brooklyn, the biggest station in California was this station called KMEL. And they did this big summer festival. and they wanted me to perform at that summer festival. So we came out there to do the summer festival, toured that. We were still out there. We got the call, yo, go to this address and you're gonna. Went down the Soul Train. We got a chance for that experience because, you know, there's only a few of us. This was still the host,
wasn't big one,
right? So we did that with Don Cornelius twice. So we did the first time, we did the Cameo in the West Coast, like it went crazy, and then Virginia adopted the song. Because we were in Virginia every weekend performing this record for all the HBCUs there. And then Philly made it the hit. Because and then it reverberated back to New York.
That's crazy, Chubbs, because your songs had a lot of HBCU influence. Treat 'Em Right, and I'm sorry, my fault. You Bad, Chubbs was like a party line song from the frats.
Yeah, because we had fraternity cats in our crew.
Okay.
In our crew, in the video. So our connection with HBCUs was always strong, and because they supported us so much, we supported them. So even though we would go to certain campuses and do stuff on the campus for free.
Wow.
Such and such is happening, you know, at Norfolk State, or this is happening at Lincoln, this is happening at, you know, I mean, and we would just show up there and do shows, man. So we had a connection with HBCUs and with school altogether. And it's funny because of that connection then, that's still the connection we have now.
Wow.
Because before COVID, besides Dougie Fresh, I think we got the most shows when it came to college reunions and fraternity reunions. Wow. And, you know, I mean, period, because they grew up and they were in school and their first year in the dorm and pledging. We were the soundtrack to all.
No doubt.
Treat 'Em Right and Just the Two of Us, and, you know, all of that was the soundtrack to that, you know, that kind of stuff.
No doubt.
So you talk about from then to now, or old to new. I'm gonna use that as segue because that's also the title track of the song you recorded with Wordsmith for NBA 2K18. How did that come about? And are you a fan? I don't even know if you're a gamer, but if you are you a fan of that particular franchise?
Well, my sons are, and they were lifted that I got a chance to be involved.
Crushing too.
Yeah, and you know, Words was just an incredible soul, and believe it or not, man, we met really online back in the MySpace days.
Oh wow!
Wow!
And because back in MySpace, everybody was promoting their music.
Yeah.
You know, you had your music on there on your page, trying to, you know, promote if you're doing some independent music. And I met a whole bunch of independent artists, and he was one of them. And they would always hit me and be like, "Yo, OG, how much does it cost to get a feature with you?" And I'm like, "B, I don't care about no money. I care if the track is dope. The track that's dope, forget money.
Jump on."
And we built a friendship from there, and then we would do some shows together, and then do some. I want that record. I want, you know, nephew Tommy was like, "Yo, I want that record for my comedy album." Then the 2K joint opportunity happened, and it was just in a few of the games. Treat 'Em Right is in a few of the games. I think maybe 4, and probably about 4. And I think Chubster's in 1 or 2 of them, and your Bad Chubbs is in 1. So, you know,
what I was saying before. The songs stay around though, like they're classics, they're timeless, they don't go away.
Because that's because of, you know, people, man. You know, that's people. That's, you know, whenever I think about my career, man, it was really because of the kindness of people. You know, I mean, it wasn't like, oh, I came up with some super plan and people, man. Like, you know, if you ever watch Nurse Jackie with Edie Falco.
My wife loves that show.
Yeah.
The last season, her last season ever, her last episode ever, she's walking at Central Park, but on the park on 14th Street, Union Square Park, and cats are dancing and skateboarding. The last song you hear while she's walking through there is Treat 'Em Right. And I remember people saying, yo, the absolute series finale, there's no more Nurse Jackie's here. They're playing Treat 'Em Right as she's walking through the thing. And I'm sitting there like, what in the world does Treat 'Em Right have to do with this? You know, because even though it's in a park and people are dancing and guys are skateboarding, but it really because Edie Falco was like, I just like that record. I want to walk out to that and end the show to that record. Same thing with Iron Man. There was no music soundtrack producer that said, okay, we want to put a party scene when Robert Downey Jr. walks through the club and we're going to play Treat 'Em Right. There was none of that. It was Robert Downey Jr. was like, yo, when I go in there, I want to hear It Takes Two, and then I want to hear Treat 'Em Right.
Okay, so boom, what you saying that, again, keeping with the theme of old to new, because you got all these people that are bringing a track from the 90s and introducing it to more modern times. Again, I have a request for you. Can we please bring back the Treat 'Em Right cypher? Because I love hearing some of these newer guys spit over this classic. It's dope, but if we're gonna do it, it has to include a new verse by you.
Yeah, I mean that's easy because I've done it already. Like, you know, cats have come to me and say, "Yo, we want to do the record over. We want you on." I say, "No problem." Just like, you know, Mary J. Blige did. Swiss Beats took the record and did it over with Mary, and he had Little Wayne on it, and there's a version with Nicki on it. You know, and it's like, no, yo, please, of course, because you ain't gonna beat me on my record, but we'll have fun and do all of that. Because in fact, you know, 50 Cent was supposed to do it. He was supposed to do a double album where he was only going to rhyme on his favorite old school rap record beats.
Word.
He was going to do Treat 'Em Right. He was going to do Check Out My Melody. All of his favorite beats. I think some Mobb Deep beats in there, Mobb Deep, and I mean, he was going to do like a double album of this. I don't know why he didn't end up doing it. Most likely because maybe the sample clearances just became, again,
crazy.
Extreme.
You could have released it as a mixtape. Fabulous did it with Friday Night Freestyles.
I mean, you know, what happens is it still becomes tricky and lawsuits become tricky because you can release it as a mixtape, but it really is released because radio will be playing it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so when the radio plays it,
somebody gotta get it.
Right. So then, you know, people start, it becomes Instagram live concerts. I mean, lawsuits are going to fly because Instagram is not a music streaming platform.
Right.
But they're playing music. So Zuckerberg is going to have to pay for that music.
Yeah.
You know, so then at some point he's going to be like, okay, well, either I got to charge for Instagram because I now got to pay for this music being streamed on it, or when the DJs are doing their rooms, you got to charge people to come in your room so you can pay for the streaming clearances of those songs. But whatever it is, that negotiation is happening, I'm sure, as we speak.
Got you.
DJ,
you got something else for my man?
I do, Chubb. Where do you see the current state of hip hop, man? Like, where do you want to see it go for the future? You know, you talked about the energy of the young cats, man, but where do you see it going? Because I often ask people when I get into arguments and people are very opinionated with this, but where is it in terms of the originality and the content and getting back to some lyricism?
Well, here's the thing. there's a lot of great lyricists and great lyricism going on in hip hop right now.
Okay.
I mean, J. Cole,
Kendrick,
just blows my mind, man. Blows my mind. I love Rick Ross, dope style. So with him, Tyler the Creator, you know, A$AP Rocky. I mean, I think, man, mad skills. And I mean, there's a lot of brilliance going on here. So, Uncle Murder and them cats, you know, just a lot of lyricism and there's a lot of brilliance. I don't critique young people in music, man, because when we were coming out, there were some legendary music people that hated hip hop.
Yes.
And they were like, "Ooh, what kind of music is that?" And I don't want to do that same thing. I mean, like, yo, man, young people need to go out there and express themselves and do their music. And have fun doing their music and make their money and do whatever they need to do for their families and hopefully help their community and stuff like that. The only thing I don't like about hip hop right now is rappers being killed. I'm not into that. I Googled it the other day and it's like 43 of them that have been murdered. You know,
wow.
Not even the ones that died of drug overdoses and no, straight murder. And I'm like, I don't understand that. Like, I can't.
Avenue out, not.
Yeah, I can't get with that part. I mean, you're making music, you're being creative, you're making money, you can, but Pop Smoke had a whole career coming for him, man. He's going to be brilliant, man. And you know, all of that stuff just really just bothers me, man, because it's just a lot of great brilliance, man. You know, I hear about Megan Thee Stallion being shot, you know, right when she's just doing all brilliance. Luckily, it wasn't fatal or something, you know. But that's the part that bothers me about hip hop right now is just the violence, man, towards hip hop artists. I don't like that kind of stuff, man. You know.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's it for me, Kev. I left that last one for you.
Well, I got one video for Lost in the Storm. You were featured on the stoop of a brownstone, presumably in Brooklyn.
Definitely Brooklyn.
Yeah. So much is seen and discussed on stoops. Our backdrop right here, as you can see, is a stoop. We're in this pandemic, but when we get past it, we'd love to have you come back and join us on a stoop.
Without question.
In BK, in ATL, wherever, we're on stoops worldwide. Can we make that happen?
Without question, man, because the stoop represents time.
Yes, sir.
You know, because that's how we grew up in Brooklyn. You know, on the stoop, talking. You know, you go to your man's crib, he come to your crib. You flirting with the girls, and you on the stoop, and you know people are playing skelly in the streets, and you know we playing, you know, two-hand touch football, sewer to sewer. And that's, it all started with the stoop, man. And I mean, I think it's a great idea that you guys are doing. And everybody grew up on that level, man. They grew up on that, you know, whether it was their mom's stoop, their pop's stoop, their grandmother's stoop, you know, again, one of their boys stoops over there. And that's when you could always just have a conversation and be honest with each other and talk about whatever you're going to do for the future, what you want to do for your family. And yeah, so anytime, man, you know, I'm a hip hop kind of tech historian cat. So, you know, next time we get busy, man, we can talk about some real hip hop
we can
tech
definitely
stuff. You know, some hip hop tech stuff, man.
I might even have to have a talk with you about how you break down bars, because one of the things that I admire about you, and I'm going to give you a lot of credit here, because my favorite rapper all time is Big, and that's no disrespect to you, but I feel like there's some elements that he snatched from you, and when I say that, like there's some things and some bars where you're kind of in the middle of a beat where you skip it and you'll jump back in, but you never miss that flow. And I saw Big kind of take that and kind of take it to the next level, and I thought that was dope.
No, you see, the thing with Big, and I don't think people understand, is Big, me, and Heavy. Oh, it almost seemed we were almost the same person, and I give you the reason. All three of us come from Jamaican parents. Mm-hmm. All three, Big, me, Heavy. So we already have that certain cadence of that, mm-hmm. right? And me, Big, and Heavy are all born in the same month. Wow. Right? We're all born in the same month.
You're a Gemini too?
I'm a Gemini too. So it's Big, me, and Heavy. Heavy was the big brother. And make sure I'm cool. What's going on? What's going on with the label? You know, he was like the big bro there. And then there's me, and then I'm like the big bro to Big. You know, and then Big was the cat that just, you know, was just so. He was more like Heavy too, because they were into the dress.
Get fly.
You know, the fly stuff. I was more the street cat and the hoodie or whatever.
You did that video where you dressed like the Father, I forget what it was.
Oh yeah, that was the beef video.
Yeah, the beef video.
And I hated every minute of it.
There is.
Yeah, but I hated every minute of it. Big and Heavy, they were the dress guys and the, you know, those things. But that's what the thing, and that's why the morning I found out about Big, that really just hit me, man. Like, it really bothered me, man, because I always felt like if I would have bumped into him on DeKalb, and I would have bumped into him, and he was like, yo, I'm going to LA, then I would have been like, yo, Big, don't do that. You know, stay until some of this stuff calmed down. Yeah, but Puffy don't worry about Puff. Your record's gonna blow anyway. You don't need no promotion right now over there. You gonna blow anyway. And I always think about what I would have told him, you know, and because I know I would have got through to him, because I would have went to his mom's, you know what I'm saying, that Caribbean mother, and be like, yo, Mom, don't let him leave here. He ain't gonna listen to me, but he gonna listen to you. Right. Because every Caribbean, me, right. Big, we're all mothers, mama boys. But I would have went to his mom, don't let him leave Brooklyn. You know, so it really always used to just ring in my brain, man, because that shouldn't have happened, man. You know, the Pac thing shouldn't have happened, man. I mean, they were so brilliant, constructed their music. Big records are going to play on forever, just like any other of these classic records from Marvin Gaye, Sexual Healing, and you're gonna be hearing Big way after we're gone from the planet. Mm-hmm. You know, he had Heavy. You know, they just had this thing, man. So did Pun. You know,
include yourself in that, brother.
Yeah, I mean, it always bothers me because all three of those brothers as big brothers, we were the Big Brother crew, are all gone right now. You know, and that bothers me, man. That's why I always want to make sure I represent for them. You know, they represent for them because they were all Caribbean people. Pun, Big, Hep. These are all Caribbean men. And they all had style, changed the game in hip hop, you know. And so I understand your love for Big, man, because I had a lot of love for him too. A lot of love for his music. And his honesty on music, you know, and you can listen to that music now and still be like, I totally understand what he's trying to say there, you know, and Pac too, you know, Pac too. And it's a shame, man. But these things are the only things that really bother me with hip hop, man, is the violence, man. Once we get a chance to overcome that,
Ain't no stopping us.
No stopping us, man. All that brilliance, especially some new brilliance coming off the streets that I heard not very recently. They play all their own music, and incredible, man, incredible. So they're coming out of Louisiana. I think it was Lake Charles, Louisiana, or whatever. And I mean, so there's brilliance all over, man. You know, I really appreciate you guys having me on, and we could do it anytime. And next time we'll do it where we'll bring a couple of legends on here. I'll call my boy Kwame and Special Ed and Dana Dane or whatever.
Yeah. There it is.
Yeah, and you guys can, because they all have a different perspective. There's certain perspectives they have that are the same, but it's different because producer kind of thing, because he's produced all kinds of big R&B, artists and stuff like that. Vivian Green and Cole and all that kind of stuff. So he comes from a different perspective, even though he's a rap legend too, but it's a different perspective, and anytime, man, you guys will, time you want to do something like that, you let me know, and we get some of the legends on here and really break down some hip hop, man.
I would love to do it, my man. Absolutely. TJ?
Chubb Rock, this has been an honor. Listen, it's been an honor. It's been a blessing. We thank you so much for your time. We know you're quite busy, everything you got going on, family, the whole nine, and your radio shows and everything that you got going on with music. But we thank you for taking time out to be a part of the Stoop today. Just blessing us with so many gems. This has been our longest interview. We almost short of 2 hours, and it just seemed like we was just talking to a big homie, a big brother, just dropping knowledge and giving us information about the world, keeping us abreast of what's going on with all our racial inequalities and injustices, how we can be better men, and how we can just be better in understanding our music and our hip-hop and everything. So, Chubb, we salute you. We give you your flowers, good brother. Thank you so much for being a part of the Stoop. We really are honored, and thank you so much.
Man, I appreciate it, man. I'm honored, man. Anytime you guys need me, I'm a text away, a phone call away.
All right, absolutely. Well, to my guy, Kev P, we appreciate you. This has been another episode of The Stoop. Y'all take care.
Some say that it gets no real on the field or the court. We capture the thrillers. Some opinions and all of the truth. Real people talking real sports on The Stoop.